What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and while I've been in the process of cutting together my interview with Kyle Brink to put that out today, Matt over on Twitter sent me a DM with some really interesting announcement that, funnily enough, came out 7 hours ago and only has like 700 views on YouTube. So I don't really think it's getting out there and people are aware of this. And in my opinion, could be a really big deal. So it's a 2-minute trailer. Let's watch it and talk about it. Let's go ahead and pull it up. Here we go. Turn the volume down because I don't know if this is safe to use. On an unrelated note, YouTube did roll out music, so you can actually use music in your videos, sometimes license music, and pay a permanent licensing fee to use certain songs in your videos going forward, which is another thing we could talk about maybe in the future.
Across empty miles, you know that it's real.
5e has been an entry to the world of tabletop for myself and so many other people.
Because it's so inspiring to all of us, there is, again, this whole world of creators, this community.
I think that the creator community has really benefited from having this solid, modular foundation of a system to build on. It's why we see so much great content from third-party publishers.
So many different ways to be a part of this large community that is the 5th edition creator ecosystem. And I love it.
Somewhere there's a new love, a heart that beats true.
The big thing right here.
Somewhere there's a great love waiting for you.
We can all turn to each other for help and tips and inspiration. And
The way that people take their own cultural influences and their experiences and their stories and put them into worlds that other people then get to explore.
You have so many different ways to share this unique style of storytelling with the world. And I think in times where people maybe have a hard time finding a table to play at, maybe they have a hard time getting their friends to play, or maybe their friends are spread across the country. It's so cool that we have so many digital tools and so many other ways to engage with the hobby.
The very concept of the game is simple enough with a core solid of rules that give you a framework to build around. And I really think that that's what makes it particularly special.
Somewhere there's a new love, a heart that beats true. Somewhere there's a great love waiting for you.
So, again, if you missed that, and I hope to God that this doesn't get copyright stricken because of the fact that there's music on it, who knows. But the important thing of that is Demiplane is now going to be supporting 5e. If you're unfamiliar with Demiplane, this is actually quite a big deal because Demiplane is, I believe, run and founded by, let's go ahead and confirm that on Twitter real quick, Adam Bradford. Now, if Adam Bradford sounds like a name that you're familiar with, that's because Adam Bradford was one of the co-founders of D&D Beyond. So when he left, he's the chief development officer of Demiplane RPG, co-founder Nexus Digital Tools, founder of D&D Beyond, so on. So basically, he built D&D Beyond. Most of the functionality that we know of and things in the past were designed by Adam Bradford, and then he went on to become part of Demiplane. And now that we're going to be seeing a 5e Nexus for Demiplane, this is a big deal because if you saw some of the stuff, now there was a lot of popular 5e creators, but the things that I wanted to talk about was this, with support for your favorite independent publishers. Now, you're maybe thinking, what does that mean? Well, how many times have you wished on D&D Beyond that you could have something from Cobalt Press? You could have something from Mage Hand Press, Nord Games, Frog God Games. You pick a company, right? Because unfortunately, D&D Beyond is only first-party stuff with a very limited exception of some things that are provided by Critical Role, like the Blood Hunter and a few other things. And again, I think a lot of the reason that that even showed up is because of Adam Bradford's involvement with it at the time. So what does this mean? Well, D&D Beyond missed out on the opportunity to really be like a Steam-like system where people could publish their own stuff on there, and it would have done gangbusters, and it would have been a huge improvement for the 5e digital space. A lot of people like to use D&D Beyond because of its ease of use. Regardless of how you feel about it, you can't deny that it is an easily useful tool. I think we can all agree on that. I've even heard rumor and even have confirmations that there are some folks that will purposefully not use third-party options in their campaign, whether they're players or DMs, subclasses, species, races, whatever you want to call it, magic items, and so on, because they're not in D&D Beyond. And they like the ease of use factor of D&D Beyond, so if they don't have them in an easy-to-use digital tool set, they're like, I don't want to use it, it's just more of a hassle for me to track it. Well, take the co-founder or the founder of D&D Beyond and the founder of the digital tools on Demiplane and put them in charge of a 5e tool set with support for independent publishers. This could be exactly what we were hoping D&D Beyond could be. So it looks like from what we saw from the early Nexus kind of screenshots, the early access screenshots, the character creator looks to be similar in design to D&D Beyond, which I think should go over well. And potentially because this is going to be built from the ground up with all of the experience of someone who worked on D&D Beyond, a lot of the bugs you may have had on D&D Beyond or the growing pains will be resolved because there's just that knowledge base there. So again, I realize this is a 2-minute trailer for an early access of something coming soon, but I think there's potential for this to really blow up and be a really cool thing. Whether it's something like possibly looking at something Cobalt Press Black Flag or other people's versions of things or just existing 5e content that you've already seen, if you want it, because like you could go in and build homebrew of whatever Cobalt Press Tome of Heroes subclass or what have you want to put on D&D Beyond, but it has to be distinctly different enough from anything already published from Wizards of the Coast for you to be able to publish that homebrew publicly. And I've even had instances in the past where you try to publish something publicly that's made by someone else, and it actually kicked it back to me and said, this is too similar to such and such a work on the DM's Guild, you can't publish it. Which was a shocker to see in the first place, but I digress. So this has the potential to fix all of that, right? One of the biggest things I'd love to do is I made a Necromancer class. I've talked about it. Someday I will release it, I promise. But it's a level 1 to 20 class. And I've tried to say, like, hey, to my players in 5th edition games, like, hey, do you want to try? You could play my Necromancer. And for the longest time, until this whole OGL situation, the concept was, well, I can't manage that character in D&D Beyond, so I don't want to play that class because I'd have to do it all pen and paper. But potentially, Demiplane will allow me to do what I want to do. Again, early access. So let's take a look more as we go through this, right? Support for your independent publishers, which is a pretty big deal. We'll skip ahead to matchmaking and group portals, right? So this will give you the option for LFG and thing, as well as an opportunity to do voice and video connection all within Demiplane. All right, here we have, let's see, digital reader and compendium, SRD content with independent 5e integration. So no surprise there. Now that the SRD is now contained within the Creative Commons, that'll be available. You can see stuff right here in this little image. Acid Arrow, Acid Splash, Aid, Alarm, and so on. The different spell schools. It looks as though this, again, this is a mock-up, but it looks like it's being developed there. And then if we click this next bit, which is the most exciting part for me, Character Builder and Digital Sheets. Create and manage your characters with third-party options. Now, Silas Jordan also happens to be Adam Bradford's character. I know that for a fact from his Twitter bio. but level 1 human bard. And if you look at this, you can see skills and actions, equipment, spells, feats and features, active effects, resistances and immunities, HP. It looks to be to do, and you can see here, right, creating a character, choosing portraits and so on. There's the dice right along the bottom there. It does appear to be, you can even see the general similarities between it and D&D Beyond. I'll be honest, I went on to Demiplane because I've been looking into Pathfinder 2E, and I was like, oh, well, I'll just use Demiplane because I know they're like the official like digital tool set for Pathfinder. And they, as far as I can tell, they don't even have character creation rolled out yet for Pathfinder. So, like, the kind of experience that I've grown to use on D&D Beyond, I'd like to have that similar experience for other RPGs, especially if I'm trying to get through all of these RPGs and learn them and play them. Anything I can get that will streamline and speed up that process for me is a huge asset for me, as well as so many other creators out there or folks just looking for accessibility and things like that. So it does go on to say from there we have the character options, which is pretty exciting. And then if we skip ahead to the end, we have coming this spring to early access. So play what you love, right? So I'm hopeful that, well, this will also be my formal request. Demiplane team, Adam and others. If you'd like to talk about promotion and looking into stuff and talking about it, I'd love to look at this. I'm very curious about this early access. I want to see what your plan is for your rollout and things like that. Like I said, someone linked this to me, Matt linked this to me over on Twitter, and I was actually shocked to see it only had 700 views in 7 hours of being published. So I'm hoping this will help amplify it and generate interest for it so that it actually will get to roll out and be, an actual thing. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below about Demiplane taking on 5e content. And we'll see you all next time.